If you have ever taken one of our savory classes here at Betty Chicago, you have probably eaten our famous focaccia, but I'm going to show you how to make it so you can make it at home. Okay, the amounts in this recipe are going to make a giant batch of focaccia. Okay, they're going to make an entire half sheet pan of focaccia. So if you are not serving it to a crowd, you might want to reduce them in half. That will make like a 9 by 13 pan, or you could even go like a quarter size of the amounts and do like an 8 by 8 pan. I'm gonna give them to you in weight measurements because that will actually be much easier for you to reduce, but I will try to do the conversions and put the volume measurements in the comments. But I'm gonna start with my water. My water is just slightly warm. It's like 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and I am going to do 775 grams of water. Now, we use a really high protein flour. We use the Ardent Mills high gluten flour. It's like almost 14% gluten or protein. So you might want to do a little bit less water if you are just using like a regular bread flour, like a King Arthur bread flour. Go ahead and reduce the water a little bit, like maybe do 750 grams rather than 775 because our flour is going to be a little thirstier than yours. Okay, I'm going to add to that our yeast. We're using 3/4 of a teaspoon of instant yeast. And we also throw in here some sourdough discard. So we're gonna put 200 grams of our sourdough discard. This is mostly just adding flavor. So if you do not have sourdough discard on hand, you can leave this out, but you do want to increase the recipe by 100 grams of flour and 100 grams of water to account for the amount of flour and water that is in our discard. Okay, I just mixed that up a little bit. Now I'm going to add my olive oil. I'm doing 60 grams of olive oil. And then I'm going to add on top of that my bread flour and my salt. So the bread flour amount is 1,000 grams or a kilo of bread flour. And then the salt amount is 20 grams. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw all of that on top of here. Kilo of bread flour and 20 grams of salt. We use kosher salt, but as long as you're weighing it, it doesn't really matter which kind of salt you use. Okay, I have all my dry ingredients in here. I like to use a Danish dough whisk to start mixing this up. I'm gonna get in here and really massage everything. I'll show you how wet. This is a very, very sticky dough. It will look like it really doesn't have a lot of structure at this point because it doesn't. There's no gluten formation yet. So now that this is really, really hydrated, I take my time. I get in here, do some good work on it. But once it's fully hydrated, then I'm gonna cover this up and I am going to let this start bulking and first rise. Our first rise is called bulk fermentation. So I'm gonna let this rise and start fermenting, and then I'm gonna do stretch and folds. Actually, I'm gonna do 2 rounds of stretch and folds and 2 rounds of coil folds. I'm gonna do them about 30 minutes apart. It's been about 30 minutes, so I'm gonna do my first round of stretch and folds. It helps if you get your hand kind of damp, and then I'm gonna really, really scoop under one side of the dough and stretch it up as far as it will allow me without tearing and fold it over itself. I'm just gonna continue going around the bowl. I'm really getting underneath, like on the edge, but like underneath it. And I don't want to tear the dough because I'm not trying to damage the gluten. I'm trying to strengthen the gluten, align the strands of protein so that the gluten is stronger. Just kind of go around the bowl. If I need to go around twice, that's fine. What I'm looking for is for it to be kind of like holding together in like more of like a ball rather than just being out. And then now I'm just going to let it rest again for another 30 minutes. Okay, it's been about 30 more minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and do round 2. You'll know that it's ready to do another round when the dough really looks relaxed again. You wanna wait until it's fully relaxed before you come back and do another round. So I'm gonna go ahead and do my coil folds. It's been about 30 minutes. So for the coil folds, you're gonna come in from both sides of the dough and you're gonna scoop it up. And sometimes it's kind of stuck to the bowl. Sometimes it helps if you're doing a large batch to have somebody hold the bowl for you. But you wanna fully pick the dough up without tearing it. And then we're going to let it coil underneath itself. So I usually set kind of the back half down first and then kind of coil that under. Then we're gonna rotate it and we're gonna do that again. So fully pick up the dough and let it kind of stretch. I'm going to put the back half down and the front half down. And then that is round 1. I'm gonna do one more round of those. Okay, I'm doing another round of coil folds. And then I'm gonna go ahead and pan this. So I am going to very heavily oil our sheet pan. We actually use a dark sheet pan for our focaccia, a dark coated sheet pan so that it gets crispier on the bottom. And then I'm gonna refrigerate this one overnight and then I'm gonna bake the other one. I'm gonna round this up just a little bit just so it's kind of smooth, and then I'm gonna put it in the pan. We heavily oil the pan. I'm gonna kind of round this up until it's nice and smooth. You don't necessarily have to do this. You could literally just throw it in the pan. Okay, dark coated pan, heavily oiled with olive oil. I'm just gonna put it on the pan. I like to go ahead and flip it around so that both sides are coated in oil. It is not gonna stretch to fit the pan right now because I just tightened it up. So I'm just gonna cover it up and it will sit in the fridge. This one's actually gonna be in the fridge until Thursday, so it'll be in there for about 48 hours. We will push it to 3 days, but beyond that, it can start to over ferment. Okay, so this one was made yesterday. We are gonna bake it for our event tonight. The amount of time that it needs to proof when it comes out of the fridge is going to be very dependent on how many times we opened our fridge between the time it went in and went out, and how, you know, cold it stayed or warm it got. It will kind of be dependent on how many days it was in the fridge. So this one was only in the fridge for like 24 hours. So when it first comes out, I like to just kind of gently stretch it a little bit, because we don't stretch it before it goes in the pan. Kind of getting it fit in the pan a little bit more. I kind of like get my hands underneath the middle and bring it out. All right, that's pretty much fitting the pan now. So I'm just gonna cover it up, let it sit. I think this is gonna need at least an hour, maybe 2 hours, to get kind of nice and puffy before we can bake it. It's been about 2 hours, so I'm gonna go ahead and bake this. It's really, really nice and jiggly. That's how I know it's ready. I do a small little bit of olive oil on the top to finish it off, and then we're gonna do some flaky Maldon salt, which if you've never had Maldon salt before, best salt, best finishing salt ever. It's like really, really nice, like fluffy flakes. They're amazing. And then you can just leave it at that, or you could add some fresh herbs. We're gonna throw some rosemary on here just because we have a bunch of it. And then I like to dimple after I put all the toppings on, so the toppings kind of get like dimpled into the focaccia. To dimple, you want to really get in there and kind of wiggle your fingers around as you make the indentations, because that will help them actually stay dimpled and not let it puff up too much. This is gonna get a really big rise though. Okay, and we bake this at 400 degrees for about 18 minutes, but we have a combi oven, so it's a combination of steam and convection. So if you're baking this in your regular home oven, I'd go up a little bit in the temp. I do like 425 degrees, and it will probably take closer to 20 minutes. I don't know. Look at it when it's really good dark golden brown, then that's when it's done. You can temp it to 200 degrees Fahrenheit is the temperature you're trying to hit. Here she is in all her glory. I'm gonna slice it, and then we have an event tonight, so this will be one of the things they are served as an appetizer. Okay, bye. Let us know if you make it. Tag us if you make it. I wanna see.